it all boils down to the same thing we talk about every single week: communication. Because if you're trying to set a boundary by saying you can't do this and you can't do that, it's going to be taken as controlling. Whereas
that's not a boundary though.
I mean, it kind of is, right? It's
Yeah.
about how you say it. Because if your boundary is like, I don't like the way you talk to me when you get angry, but instead of that, you say, yo, you need to calm down, you need to shut up, or blah, 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 blah. You know what I'm saying? Depending on how you relay that message, there's a line between setting a boundary and being controlling, depending, I think, on how you communicate that to them.
Welcome back to another episode of the Real Deal Podcast with myself, Mr. Brandon Haley, and we got
Mr. Cleon Deal back for another week. Every day's a good day, man.
Every day above ground is a good day, sir. And today we are going to do the fourth installment of our Red Flag series, part 4, and we're going to talk about controlling. And before we do that, tomorrow's Easter.
Easter.
Happy Easter, everybody. Hope you guys spend it at church.
Amen.
And learning a little bit about what this week is all about, because I learned a lot about this week that I didn't know before. It was actually a full Holy Week, and that's what they call this week, and that it started on Palm Sunday because Jesus rode into Jerusalem on a donkey, and the people there used the palms, singing Hosanna, wanted him to save them. And then those same people ended up being the same people that kill him. You know what I'm saying? So, or that
there's a message in that.
Yeah, there's definitely a message in that. Those same people early in the week that was asking for him to save them were the same people that were voting for his execution just 5 days later. So
need to get an organ sound on this.
Yeah, right? Take you guys to church. And I'm getting baptized at church tomorrow, so that's always exciting as well.
Yeah.
So that's that. A lot's going on in the world, and I am not going to talk about it because you know what you guys do with tragedy. You take it and you make that shit political, and let me be the first to tell you that shit is annoying, so please stop doing that. What was it? There was a shooting at FSU, mass shooting by a white kid that act like a white supremacist. And because of that, everybody wants to make it political. The track meet incident where there's a kid that killed another kid. And of course they want to make it political. Guys, you weren't there. You don't know the whole story. I mean, you know the whole shooting thing, but it's not, anytime there's a tragedy, it's not a time to make it about Democrats or Republicans. You know what I'm saying? Like, people are mourning. People just lost somebody in their life. Let them mourn. There's not a time to make a political gain out of it. If you want to make change, go run for some local office. Don't just post on your story. That's not going to do anything. Please stop doing that. It's very pointless. All right. Anything you got that you want to talk about before we jump in?
No, I'm ready.
All right. I'm not prepared, like always. I am prepared by being here physically and mentally. That's the only preparation that I have 90% of the time when I join these things, or when we do these recordings. So we're going to talk about controlling. And so far we talked about codependency, gaslighting, trust issues, and now part 4 is going to be controlling. Why is controlling a red flag?
Well, first, let's break down what it means, right? So controlling behavior, right? So controlling behavior constitutes as excessive jealousy, monitoring your whereabouts, controlling your spending or activities, and trying to isolate you from others. So the reason why this is a red flag is because it's somebody quite literally trying to control another person. They're trying to basically monitor every little thing you do. So I don't want you going out with your friends. I want to move you out of state, away from your family, where so I'm the only person that you have. I need you to call me or text me every 10 minutes so I know that you're okay, and blah 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 blah.
Yeah, I'm sure we've all had some sort of experience with somebody that can be controlling, and you know what it is, so it's not something that you want to deal with. But the problem that I see that has probably happened with me and that has happened with other people is that it's usually a little too late into the relationship or into whatever's going on where that controlling starts to happen, and then you don't want to get out of it, or you can't get out of it.
Right.
So do you have a story to where maybe there's been an incident with you and somebody that's controlling, or an incident where maybe you've been the controlling person, which I doubt that has ever happened, because Cleon just do whatever you want. I'm gonna be here.
I had I had a young lady whom I was with, because I'm always very respectful with how I describe these people. Situations will arise. Shout out to Usher. So this young lady whom I was with, she wanted to track locations.
The whole location.
She wanted to do that. And so there was a point where, back in the day where my car had like blown out, and then I was with this girl, and then so I was using her car. And thankfully, that was very nice of her to allow me to do so.
And she wanted your location because you were doing that?
She thought, for whatever reason, she was talking about she had a dream that I had gone to see some other girl with her car.
You probably had, huh? Your dreams aren't always true, ladies. Your dreams aren't always true.
No, but I think she had some sort of location on her car,
like OnStar or some shit.
Yeah, something like that, because she had asked me like, "Oh, like I feel like you had gone somewhere in this area," which she was correct about the area that I was in, and I'm just like, "That's where the gym is. What are you talking about?" She's like, "I don't know. I just thought it just." I was like, "You don't even know your way around the city."
Yeah.
So in my head, I'm like, "How do you know where I went in this vehicle?"
Did she go on your phone and turn on your location services?
I have
share location with her.
I don't know. That's the thing. I to this day, I have no idea how she knew that that's where I was.
Because it won't really tell you. Well, I mean, it can tell you in your text thread. But if someone's sharing their location with me and I pull up their name, I can see it.
Yeah.
But not vice versa. Like, you wouldn't know unless I'm sharing my location with you too, that's happening.
Maybe I don't know. Maybe that's what it was.
You could have been sleeping, then they just share.
Maybe, because she did do. She went through.
If it's a bill for her.
Yeah, because she did go through my phone once and then get this other girl's address out of it, and then wrote it down on a sticky. But that was that's part me. That one.
That could be what happened, to be honest.
Yeah, anything's possible. But yeah, she was wanted to be very involved in that and wanting to know exactly where I was at all the time. And then when we were selling insurance, she would just be calling me during the day, just randomly, and I'm like, I am sitting in an appointment right now.
Yeah.
I'm thinking,
where are you?
Right. I'm thinking it's an emergency. Clearly, you're dying.
So many times. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, this exhibits obviously a level of controlling behavior, because now I need to know where you're at all the time. And no matter what you're doing, I need you to drop that and tend to me. Because I had whatever thought or whatever feeling in my head that you were doing whatever, and I need. Yeah.
That's a little codependency and. A little bit of controlling
and a little bit of trust issues.
That's a little. You start to check all the red flags, and you probably should start running. Or think about running.
It was a nice little mix.
So I feel like this red flag, like somebody who wants to be controlling, can actually be dangerous. And I think it is very important. I know when we interviewed Hillary a couple weeks back, Coach
Shout out to Hillary. She's amazing.
Yeah, she was dope. She was talking about how she does background checks on these guys before a first date, which is super, super important, especially being a female, to get some sort of background information on a person that you're going to be sharing a space with. Reason being And I'm sure, especially if you live in Tampa, you probably had some sort of encounter like this story that I'm about to tell you. This story has nothing to do with me, by the way. It has something to do with a lady that I know in a situation that she had went through. But I feel like it's very fitting
Right.
to share for this, to make you aware of how insane the male species can be. All right.
Yeah.
We can be super great, nurturing,
Yeah.
whatever, all the other things.
All that
Not
fun stuff.
nurturing, that's what females do. But provider, protector, we could be all them things too. But if you get with the wrong person who's manipulating and controlling, it could be a very bad situation. And if you don't believe me, just go on Netflix and watch all the documentaries.
Right.
And that's all that I have to say. Just watch some of those documentaries. But give you the cliff notes of this story, because I'm not going to say any names or anything like that. But let's just say there was a situation that arose. We'll just say male and female. A female was going through some personal things and felt that it was, she needed some male company.
Okay.
And fast forward, it was supposed to be like a little weekend thing. The male was from out of town. And, she was going through some personal things with like roommate, as well as like breakup and stuff like that. So she felt like it would be good to have a male there.
Right.
Lo and behold, the weekend passed. This guy still doesn't leave. He's like, all right, well, hey, okay, you going to leave eventually? Hey, are you going to leave eventually?
I'm sorry. Hold on. So wait, why did they move in again? Why
They didn't move in.
Wow.
They were together.
They were together.
They were just together. Let's
and
call
he
it.
was like spending the night.
Right. So let's call it together for a weekend, because as a female, you're going through some personal things, breakup, some roommate issues, yada yada yada. So
I'm with
female, you guys know you have your little issues, and then you need male presence at some point in your life, right? Let's just call it that. That happens, and then basically, dude doesn't leave, right? And yeah, you're telling me. I heard this story. I said, "Yo, go grab the gun." So that's why you should keep a gun too. And then she's just like, all right, like, you don't even live in this city. You could go home. And no, I'm not going to go home. And then it came to a point where obviously as a male, I don't care what any female is going to say, like every male is going to be stronger than you physically. And especially if you're a smaller, dainty female, then like you really have no choice. So he basically just moved in. And then then at that point started to take control over everything that she was doing. So no leaving with the house without me, no on your phone without me next to you.
No, that's crazy.
This is an extreme case, but it can start off as innocent as just hanging out with somebody. I want you guys to understand how fast things can change when you don't know who you're dealing with. So this went on for about a month.
A month.
Oh
my gosh.
All right. And then long story short, eventually, she was able to get away by going out and walking the dogs, and then the neighbor was there, and then she quickly called her mom, tried to tell her the whole situation. Mom called the cops, yada, yada, yada. Then they like removed the person. There technically wasn't a crime committed because it was just controlling. There was no physical abuse, just more like a mental kind of abuse thing, which is not illegal. But come to find out, this guy has had an arrest warrant in another city. So in that, he had been arrested like a year prior, and he was waiting to go on trial for domestic violence, strangulation, battery, and apparently his ex-girlfriend like has a restraining order against him and stuff like that. So I tell you this story to let you know, one, how fast an innocent weekend can turn into a potential life-threatening situation because you couldn't see red flags, or because you don't know who you're allowing into your personal space.
This is
and
crazy.
I think you're telling me, right? You're telling me.
So this was like a fling that turned into this.
Yeah, let's call it that.
Okay.
Yeah, let's call it a weekend fling.
Okay.
And that's what it turns into. So know that anything that or anybody that you're inviting into your space, be very aware that something could happen. And it could be too late before you realize, oh, hey, this person is super controlling and a little bit psychotic. Let me get away.
Right.
Be very aware. That's why I bring up the thing when Hillary's like, yeah, do a background check on everybody. Because had you had known that this person had just been arrested a year prior,
yeah,
and it's a case that's still open, it's not like it was dropped.
Yeah.
Like I had a situation like that. I told you guys already, right? That my arrest was for domestic violence, right?
Mm-hmm.
We already went over that story. Cases dropped, no charges. This is it was a still open case, and the arrest was a year ago, which means that it's not getting dropped.
Right.
Mine was dropped within like 4 months.
Right.
If you were able to do a little bit of research on this person, you would have been able to see that.
Interesting.
And, thank God for God, right? Because that went from a potential or very innocent situations to a very life-threatening situation in a matter of weeks.
Yeah.
So just be very aware of
Google them.
Especially, Google. Yeah.
Search them on Facebook.
Get some background information on the person before you decide to try and get too close to them. Obviously, there's some situations that are just really unavoidable, and there's more to the story. It's not my story to tell. So I'm just giving you guys a brief description of the story to let you know how fast something can go from innocent to life-threatening. Just like if you watch the Gabby Petito documentary as well, little things like that, you have to be super, super aware. And that was somebody that she thought she loved. Mm-hmm. And we'll talk more on stuff. I think we're talking about domestic violence next week too. So we'll actually talk more about that story next week as well. Okay. Well, you had a question?
No, I didn't know we were talking about domestic violence next week.
It's on the calendar.
Okay. All right. Oh, is it?
I remember putting the Gabby Petito
yeah.
Documentary because I definitely wanted to talk about that. Probably talk a little bit about Jonathan Major's story and situation as well. Because there's stuff that really happens and there's stuff that doesn't happen. And Gabby Petito is a situation of stuff that really happened. And then the Jonathan Majors is something that was like not really
questionable
as big of a deal, made a huge deal. So, but that's a topic for next week.
Yeah.
But just, and I want to give you tips to be like, how do you know someone's controlling that early on? You don't. You really don't. So the best advice I could give you, especially women, number one, have a gun, have a weapon, know how to use that weapon in case a situation like that ever did happen. Mm-hmm. And then it's like, all right, cool. You got a body. Now you can get a little teardrop tattoo.
That's insane.
It's your life or theirs.
Oh, Jesus. All right. So let's run through a few examples, right, of controlling behavior, because maybe this can help somebody identify the signs early on. Right.
Mm-hmm. I think it's yeah.
Right. So one of the things that this talks about is obviously restricting movement and freedom of action. So like you were talking about, I don't want you going anywhere without me. I need to know exactly where it is, what time, and blah 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 blah. But also basically trying to restrict you from who you're hanging out with or hanging out with them in general.
Yeah, I think at any point in the relationship, when this behavior starts to arise, it is an immediate red flag and you should get out. And this is when it gets harder when you've been in the relationship for multiple months, multiple years, then that's when it gets harder to really jump out of it. Mm-hmm. But definitely early on, if it's anything in a talking stages and you want to go out, you have a trip plan, a work trip.
Right.
I'm just trying to think of examples going out,
right?
Hanging out with certain people, especially early on in the talking stages. That person has literally no right over anything in your life.
Zero.
Now, the only way that would make sense is down the road. If you do have a friend that is a bad influence and she's a bad influence on you, then yeah, maybe. But early on in those talking stages,
what's a bad influence as a friend? Let's unpack that a little bit.
A bad
what's a bad influence as a what
girls
would you
that
consider?
You see out all the time.
Mm-hmm.
The girls that you see out all the time. So that's what it is. That in my opinion is but I'm also in a different mindset now. You see me 3 years ago, that wouldn't have been that big of a deal for me. But the girls that are constantly out and about, and if my girl's hanging out with them, she's not gonna be my girl for very long. You know, so and I'm not gonna control her either.
Right.
At the end of the day, they have you have a life, they have a life. They're gonna make their own decisions. You're gonna make your own decisions.
Right.
You shouldn't control them or force them to be anything that you want them. Like, you shouldn't make them conform to be what you want them to be, essentially.
Right. So so is there a conversation that you have with that partner if you see that obviously they have a friend who is consistently doing those things? Do you have a conversation about something? Like, obviously, like you said, we're not going to try and control them, but is there something that you say? Because let's say before, when you guys met, maybe she is going out with her friend as often as her going out friend is going out. Is there a conversation that you have once you guys get together, or what do you do regarding that? Or is that something that you just avoid from the beginning?
It's really up to you. I mean, if from a guy's perspective, and that's what a guy's looking at now, it's really up to him. And then if they're still going out at the same frequency as they were, then yeah, I mean, maybe it's a red flag. But if you shouldn't have to have a conversation. They should want to intentionally slow it down. They're still going to do it, but they should want to intentionally slow it down, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's a fair point, right? It's like, if there's certain things that you're doing, and once you get into a relationship, obviously I'm in a relationship, maybe I shouldn't, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's like that sort of thought process. So ideally, your partner has that, right? But if not, and they still want to live that same lifestyle as they did beforehand, then maybe,
At the end of the day, you shouldn't be the person trying to control anybody.
Right.
If they're going to make those decisions and continuously make those decisions, you can let it know that it bothers you.
Right.
But and then if they still make it, then that's on them. Sure.
Right.
And then you come to a crossroads like, hey, do I still want to be in this relationship, or are we better off as friends? And you have to make that decision
right
for yourself.
Okay.
I got a question as well from Daryl. Do you guys think when boundaries are being set in the relationship, can that be mistaken as controlling? What's your thoughts? I think absolutely not, but go ahead.
I think that can it be mistaken? I think it can be, depending on how you set those boundaries.
Can you see it? I'll put it on stream.
Yeah. So yeah, I can see it here. Okay. So I think that how you set boundaries is important, right? It all boils down to the same thing we talk about every single week: communication. Because if you're trying to set a boundary by saying you can't do this and you can't do that, it's going to be taken as controlling. Whereas
that's not a boundary, though.
I mean, it kind of is, right? It's about how you say it. Because if your boundary is like, I don't like the way you talk to me when you get angry, but instead of that, you say, yo, you need to calm down, you need to shut up, or blah, 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 blah. You know what I'm saying? Depending on how you relay that message, there's a line between setting a boundary and being controlling, depending on, I think, on how you communicate that to them. That's what I think. It depends on that portion of it.
So I think when it comes to controlling, you're trying to change somebody's behavior.
Right.
When it comes to setting a boundary, you're trying to stop that behavior from affecting your life.
But in both cases, you're trying to curb the behavior.
Yeah, but you're trying to remove yourself from this. In a boundary, you're trying to remove yourself from the situation in that. So let's say like a boundary that is close to controlling. Let me think of one.
We talk about the going out thing.
Yeah, but I'm not going to set a boundary on the relationship because that is controlling. You can't set a boundary, but hey, one of my boundaries is that I get really insecure that you like to go out and party with your friends. No, that's not a boundary. That is controlling. So, a boundary would be like, hey, I work these days. I can't see you these days. This is the only day I can see you. So we got to make it work on this day. Or I don't think that we should see each other this many times a week. Or we shouldn't have sex. Or
so a boundary isn't, hey, I think that maybe we could possibly cut down on how much we go out.
As a collective group, yes.
but not for them individually.
Not for them individually,
So
because
it's
then that's controlling. But yeah, you as a collective, yes, that would be a boundary. Hey, I want us to drink less. I want us to attempt to drink less. We're going out too much. I want us to set this boundary of drinking once a week. Yeah, that is a boundary together, because you're doing it together. You're not trying to control them. You're trying to make your relationship better.
So your difference between boundaries and controlling, just so
Is
I'm
whether
understanding,
it's together,
correct?
or
Whether
separate.
it's you telling them what they need to be doing versus you telling them what you would like to do as a unit to basically help further the relationship.
Yeah, essentially.
Interesting.
Controlling it, like what somebody does in their own life, is their decisions. That's why God gave us free will.
Right.
That's all on them. What you do in your life is all on you. You can't set a boundary on someone else's life that doesn't affect you.
But
Like,
it does affect you when you're in the relationship.
How?
If they're doing that, right? If they're doing something that makes you uncomfortable, that affects
why
you.
does that make you uncomfortable?
I don't know. Maybe you just feel like that's not something they should be doing.
You got to figure out, but why shouldn't they be doing it?
So why shouldn't your girl be going out every night of the week if you're in a relationship?
Why shouldn't she?
Yeah.
Well, you shouldn't be in a relationship with a girl that goes out every night.
No, come back to it. you don't get to give me circular answers on this. No.
Why are you in a relationship with that girl? Look, you got into, let's say, since we're on the topic of partying and going out.
Yeah.
You sought after, and I know because I've done this. You sought after the girl who likes to party.
So let's say you didn't know that though. Let's say
How would you not know? Where'd you meet her?
Let's say you weren't aware. I don't know. Maybe you met her at Publix.
So you're going to find that out in the talking stage, and then you decide to continue to talk to her, because you're going to find that out. If she's a partier, she's going to continuously go out and go out and go out.
So what if you guys get into the relationship and then she starts going out more? Then what do you do?
Then you leave. You're not going to control her, because it's the same thing that I always say. Like you can't stop somebody from cheating, no matter how much you like. Let me look through your phone. Let me get your location. Let me do this and this. Cheaters are going to find a way to cheat.
Right.
That's just what they do.
But do you not even feel like that's worth a conversation to have
if they start going out a lot?
Of
course. Right. But you can't control it.
Right.
Even if they agree and they still do it, then what?
Right.
Now you just
I agree you can't control anything, but we're talking about setting a boundary versus being controlling, which both of these require some sort of conversation. So that's what I'm
having a conversation, and you should be having a tough conversation, yes. So in that situation where if somebody starts to go out more after you've been together, then it's a simple conversation. Why are you doing this anymore? What do you get? Do you find pleasure in it? Do you find joy in it? What's the point of doing it?
Right.
Oh, you like to get drunk? Okay. Do you not like to get drunk at the house? No? Okay. What's the difference between here and here?
Right.
And just have that kind of conversation with you. Okay. All right. I understand. And if they want to invite you, they can invite you.
Right.
Like I was in another relationship too that was like that. To where when I stopped drinking and she would want to go out, not very often, but occasionally, and then she want me to go. And I was at a point in time in my life to where it was still a little bit, it wasn't as comfortable as I am now, to where I can go out and literally be anywhere and not drink. So it was like in that earlier stage of when I stopped drinking. So where it's a little bit more difficult.
So it's like if it's around you, you're gonna want to do it.
No, it's just more like socially awkward, social anxiety kind of thing. Not that I would have the urge to want to do it. It'd just be like I just didn't want to.
You didn't know how to have fun sober yet?
Yeah, I didn't want to entertain people sober. I didn't want to entertain drunk people sober because I do that already.
I do that at work.
I do that as a career right now. So it would just be like, I already have to do that for work. So it felt like work to me, so I wouldn't want to do it.
Right.
That makes sense. And what other questions? What else you got?
So a few more examples of this that they talk about. What about trying to exemplifies a part of being controlling as trying to control what somebody wears. Now that's a big topic among
that is good too. I've been there.
You tried to control what they wear?
No. I suggested. And so I had,
strongly suggested
the ex that, was the social media couple. Everything looked great. I end up getting locked up at the end of that one. But there were situations, everything she wear was very minimal.
Minimal.
Very minimal. And here's the thing, fellas. If they're doing it before you get into a relationship with you, you have to expect that they're going to continually do it. You're not going to be like Jesus literally Jesus walks into Jerusalem and they praise him on one day, and they kill him the next day. You know what I'm saying? Like you thought they're going to praise him this entire time. No, they're not going to. All right. They're still the same imbeciles and wanted this all high power, mighty God to save them from the Roman Empire. Mm-hmm. All right. And they got somebody who was caring and loving. They're like, no, this is not what we want. Right. All right. They wanted what they wanted.
Right.
You get into a relationship with a female, she wants what she wants. If she wants to wear that, just you taking the title of her boyfriend is not going to change the fact that she wants to show off her body.
Right. Okay.
So in that situation, you have to be willing to go with it. The only time I had a problem with it was if it was a little bit too see-through, or if it was something that was
now showing her extremities
real easy to move while she's dancing. That was the only time I ever had an issue with it, which I have literally full right to be like, hey, like I've seen 2 knit slips while I'm out here in the club. Third one, I'm going to get really mad. And we're leaving. You know what I'm saying? That's the only time. People show you who they are before you get into a relationship with them. Don't think that you dating them or you being or talking to them is going to change that. You're not there to change the individual. The individual is there the person that you're talking there is going to show you all your weaknesses, your job, and they have weaknesses too. So your relationship is going to show them their weaknesses. Your job isn't to change those. It's literally to make them aware of them. And if they want to do the growth and they want to do the inner work, then they're going to do it. But your job is not there to change or control them. If you think that's what your job is there to do, I have a newsflash for you. You're going to be not having very great relationships. You know what I'm saying? This isn't the 1980s anymore, where guys were super, super masculine and they would just tell their wives exactly what to do, and that was it. That's not how life works anymore.
We'll call it masculine. We'll say that's what it was.
When did women get the right to vote? You know what I'm saying? Women got the right to vote not that long ago.
1923.
Maybe, no, I think it was after that.
Was it? Or maybe so what happened? Or was that the right to work?
Like 1920.
Maybe that was the right to work. And then
but the right to vote, I think, was a lot, like maybe within the last 50 years.
Yeah. What year? This was in the world, the 19th Amendment.
I don't know. I'm just making up things.
You're just saying stuff, man. Why is this not telling me? When did women get the right to vote? Yeah, I think I'm right, actually.
Is it 1923?
I think it was in.
All right, so 102 years.
Yeah, which is still fairly new,
right?
Yeah. So because obviously there was a time where women weren't even really legally allowed to have autonomy, so they couldn't open their own bank accounts. They literally didn't have the right to vote. So this idea of what the traditional household looks like now is because of the fact that women literally they weren't allowed to go and do those things. Yeah.
So it's definitely different. And that was a controlling.
Yeah.
That's how it was. Like the guys in control of everything at that time. That's not how life is lived nowadays.
Right.
So you can't expect to live that way because that's not how it works nowadays, fellas.
Yeah, it's simply not how it works. Obviously, a good point that you mentioned is that you should know who you're getting into a relationship with. So, trying to control somebody from doing things that they have been doing it's going to be a tough sell. It's going to be a very tough thing. And for you to be mad about them doing the thing that you met them doing, it's a little bit tough. Now, granted, people can change behavior and people can decide to better themselves, but they have to decide to better themselves. That's them, between them and them. You don't get to make that decision for them.
Yeah, you have to be there and support.
Correct.
Yeah, you can't be there and control. The more you try to grasp and control another human being's behavior, the more they're going to pull away from you.
Right.
So if you really care about this person and you want to be with them in the long run, the more you try and control them, the more they're going to go away from you anyways.
Yeah.
It's like when you have two of the same side of a magnet, what happens when you try and put them together? You can't do it. They stay away from each other. Same kind of concept. when it comes to that negative controlling energy, you're just going to keep pushing and pushing that person away. And then they're like, once maybe they liked you and now they're like, they despise you because of how controlling you are.
Exactly.
So ladies' tips would be do your due diligence and do your background.
Due diligence.
Google search this person, put them in AI. There's so many AI tools. Like, who the heck is this person? Give them all the information you have on them. Have them pull up everything, and you can find out a lot of people. Like, AI is a powerful tool. Use that to protect yourself. There's just so many crazy stories, especially with guys who are super controlling and doing the worst to women. So you have to protect yourself by doing your research on these people that you're spending time with. Obviously, if you're going out on a date and it's in a public setting, you don't have to, I'm not trying to freak you out. Like, you're in a public setting, you'll be all right. But just see the flags, see how they start to go. If they try to make anything in your life different and more difficult, understand that is a controlling behavior. And if they're doing something, if they're starting to do it early on in the talking stages of the relationship, and it affects your life negatively, just imagine what they're going to do when you're actually in a real relationship with them. It's not going to get any better. It's only going to get worse because a guy at the beginning stages, in the beginning talking stages, he's going to show you his best version, the best version of himself.
Yeah, it's like starting a job. You're on your best behavior.
You're on your best behavior. 5 years in, you're like, I'll show up late if I want to. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's me. It's just another week. But yeah, just understand that the guys are going to show you their best behavior right at the beginning. So if it's early on within a couple of weeks and they start to exhibit some sort of controlling behavior, like, hey, you do this a lot. Why? I don't want you to do that anymore. Little things like that save your life, save yourself, get out of there as fast as possible. Another question: what your women wears can reflection? Okay,
can be a reflection.
Reflection of how she respects you. Do you agree? Yes and no. Yes, because your girl should be wearing something that's more respectful and appropriate for the situation that you're in. You know, if it's Easter Sunday, it should be a different outfit than if you're at the beach. You know what I'm saying?
Shouldn't be the same one. Hopefully.
Shouldn't be the same one, hopefully.
Yeah.
But again, this goes to, if you see a girl that's what she posts on her social media and that's what she wears in real life, and then you decide to date her, you cannot expect her to change for you. She's not just going to change how she dresses for you because that's what she's wearing. And typically girls will wear that to get validation. That's it. In my opinion, that's why most of them will wear it, is to get extra self-validation or to show off their body because they work out a lot. Only two reasons. They are a little bit insecure and they need some validation from external forces, or because they work so hard on their body and they just want to show it off.
Right.
I was the same way. I used to have my shirt off all the time. Now it's more of like, I'm old. I don't want to be the old guy with a shirt off every day. Posting it on my story. I will take it off. I don't have any issues taking it off, but I'm not going to be overbearing and put it all over my social media every single day. I'm not posting thirst traps every single day. Leave that. That's what women do. If that answers your question. But yeah, I yes and no. That's why it's so important to do your background on these people. Like, you see how they're going to act. Don't expect that behavior to change once you get into a relationship and start catching feelings with them, because it's not going to. You can't control them. They can't control you.
Right.
Unless you're a super lover boy like me, they can kind of control you.
Soft. Now, I think this is an interesting question, but I do think it goes back to kind of habits, right? Like you said, if you're meeting somebody who's consistently doing a thing, that's their normal, right?
Yep.
That's what their normal is. So them still doing it while with you is not necessarily, like, I can see why people would think it's disrespectful to you. But at the same time, that's just what they do. So it's like, to them, that's how they operate in their daily life. So they don't think it's disrespectful towards you because that's how they've been operating. So it does take a little bit for them to be able to see that, oh, maybe, maybe this doesn't look the best when I'm there with them. But at the same time, it is up to you to notice that this is how she dresses. You know what I'm saying? And so
Yeah, it's a
you
conversation.
yeah,
Conversation
it's
should
just a
be
simple
had,
conversation on
but
that.
don't expect to change them with the conversation. You can continuously have the conversation in a respectful manner, and just be like, I don't enjoy that. That's what you wear, but
Yeah. Like, you look great.
yeah,
However, I would prefer if,
I would prefer you don't.
maybe the thigh
But
should be a little more, maybe the slit could be a little bit lower in the dress. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's make a compromise. Maybe that's what it is. Like, cool, but like, can we just moderate it just a little bit for me? You know what I'm saying? I get cleavage out, but not all of it. We don't need 8 inches of cleavage. Let's cut it down to 3.5.
yeah,
Let's work on
baby
that.
steps.
Just simple conversations like that. Maybe not. It may or may not work, but at the end of the day, you did get into a relationship with that person beforehand. So you do have to make sure that you guys are on the same page of what that's going to look like for you. Now, I want to ask about this. A lot of a big talk about control, especially with men and women, is financially. So the fear, and I think that maybe is part of the thing that kind of created this whole boss babe culture, is that when men now, well, in the past, have been financially responsible for everybody, they then get to tell the wife what to do all the time. And then if they don't do what they want to do, then they don't get whatever, or he's going to withhold financially, and he's in control of that. And I think that's a method, well, that women do talk about, is because of the fact that obviously he pays everything, and so I'm not allowed to go and do this and this, because if I do, then it's going to be a problem.
Yeah, that's that would be deeper on into the relationship.
Yeah, of course, deep.
But at the end of the day, I mean, it's not technically both of y'all's until y'all married anyway. So
The income.
Are we talking? Yeah, where at in the relationship? Are we talking like just dating, talking stages, married?
Let's say we have gotten to the point of marriage, and you've been working up to this point, but now I got it. You can be a stay-at-home wife because I can take care of everything now. And then soon as that happens, now he tripping.
Well, yeah, I'm just going to say at that point, you should already realize if he had these kind of tendencies that you should already got out.
So where
somebody's going to reveal it. You got to give it time for somebody to really reveal themselves before you agree to marry them, or as a guy, ask them to marry them. Ask the woman to marry you. You got to give it some time to really understand and see how this person acts in a lot of different situations. So wait multiple years, not like 10 years, but wait like 3 years with the person before you decide, hey, now if you get into one very early on, and like within the first year, and they are the super breadwinner, they're going to have a lot of control over your life. Because you're going to leave this lavish lifestyle and go and do whatever you're doing before. You have to understand that they at that point in time, yes, in that situation, they will have hella control over your life because you allowed it. You allowed yourself to get into that situation. Why? Because you like the person. It happened really, really fast, and they have a lot of money.
Yeah. And it creates a tough situation for a few different reasons. But the main thing is that if this ends, it creates a difficulty of you getting back out into like the workforce and having to be able to provide for yourself at that point. Because let's say you've been married for the last 5 years and he's been in financial control of you, and then suddenly you're not together anymore. And now you have to go explain this 5-year gap in your resume.
I'll tell you one thing. Yeah, one thing I heard a lot when we were selling life insurance, because I was always intrigued about people's relationships. What happened? How long were they together? If they had been divorced, why did they get divorced? And one of the most reoccurring things that I heard from women was that they always told me that they wish they had never quit their job. So if you're getting into a relationship with a guy and he's like, you don't have to work, keep working. The only reason you should stop working is to raise a kid. If you're not having to raise a kid or a child at the time, there's no reason that you should stop working. Because I can't tell you, I've heard that story maybe at least 10 times from women that were out of relationships. And that was one of the main things that they always kept saying, is that they wish even though the husband was the breadwinner and took care of all the bills and took care of everything, they wish that they would have never stopped working, because once they got out of that, it was so much harder to get back into it.
Right.
So ladies, if you are in this situation, which I'm not sure how many are like actually married and having this conversation and not raising kids, keep working. Do not let the guy be like, oh no, baby, I got it. Let me take care of everything. No. We don't live in that, because at that point in time he has so much control over you. What if he decides to leave you?
What if he cheats?
What if he cheats? Now you're so
Dependent.
afraid, and dependent on his income, that you're afraid of losing that portion of the relationship as well. So definitely don't quit doing what you're doing because the guy tells you he'll take care of it. Let him take care of everything and then make that money, and then that's your money. Save it. Do whatever you need to do with it. Let him buy everything, pay for all the bills, whatever it may be, if that's how the relationship dynamics work. But do not quit doing what you're doing. There is no point to, unless you're raising kids. My 2 cents right there.
Yeah, I think it's a super tough situation, because sometimes that is the dream that women want to live out, is that. So it makes it a little bit difficult to say no to that, because we're not thinking about years ahead. Because obviously, if you don't see the signs of it before, you're never going to think that he's going to turn into something like that. And so you're comfortable in saying yes to that arrangement, but then every now and then, sometimes that thing turns into a real problem later.
Yeah, it definitely can. And if it's early on in those early stages of a relationship, you just gotta be aware. And that's why I say I'm such a big proponent on not having sex early, is because you let that lustful judgment cloud, and then you don't see any of the red flags, and then you just immediately in the honeymoon stage, and you're like, yeah, everything is so great.
Good times.
If you were looking at it without all the emotions that's in your head, you would be like, no, this person is a loser. So it's like that's why you have to work on building that emotional connection before you build that physical one, because you start to build that physical one, the red flags start looking like Six Flags, and everybody's having a good time. So we're not. So that's why I preach that, is because my barber, who used to be a pastor, been preaching that to me for years. And, I finally decided to take his advice. Be like, all right, finally. And just been celibate for, I don't know, it's been a long time now. I done lost count, but listen back to the episode. Maybe 8 months. Jesus Christ. What are we in? We in April right now? Yeah.
We are in April.
Yeah. Dang. Yeah. Maybe 8 months now. Which is crazy and amazing at the same time. But I'm not going to let the red flags be looking like green flags because I'm so locked into the physical aspect of the relationship. That's not what I'm going to do anymore.
Right. So what do you think about your significant other having friends of the opposite sex? Because that's a big thing people try to control while in relationships.
Oh, it's 100% fine.
100% fine. So
it also depends on what her profession is too.
What her profession is, right?
Yeah, I'm not going to say like the chick that I'm talking to what her profession is, but it is a male dominant profession. It is a male dominant profession, so she has a lot of male friends.
So what's the?
That's where your insecurities come in.
But what's
if
the
you can take my
timeline?
girl, that's not my girl. That's yours.
Fair. So what? My question is this: what's the timeline on that? So like, if a girl tells you, yes, this is a very good friend of mine, how long ago should she have met him for you to feel comfortable? Can she have new male friends as you guys are together? New male.
I don't even need to ask. It's the same thing. It's control. I'm so comfortable in my own skin and so confident in my own self that, hey, if you can take my woman, it is not my woman. It is just my turn. And I have to be fully prepared at any moment in time. Just like I say it all the time, you can't stop somebody from cheating. If they want to cheat, they're going to find a way. And I did this before in college. I was like, I don't like this person. You can't talk to him, unfollow him, yada, yada, yada. That's what they say, LD, you know what I'm saying? Little energy. That's all that is. So you have to be so secure, so confident in yourself to where like, bro, it's okay. Like, it's okay. Like I can have female friends. She can have male friends. It's okay.
Have you had girls try to stop you from having friends of the opposite sex?
I can't remember if they had, man. I don't think so.
No?
No, I usually don't have too many girlfriends like that. I've had like maybe like one or two in my entire life to where like I like would talk to them very consistently and not have emotional connection with them.
Wow.
I don't have too many.
Hmm.
I got like one now. Shout out Madison. She was on the episode. That's my dog.
Yeah, shout out.
That's my dog now.
Yeah. Not doing reason why I asked, because I was in when I was in a relationship some years ago, I have a still very good friend who she had just this vendetta against for years. And it came to a point where
she just got to heal, man.
I guess
something happened and she ain't never healed from
she came to me and said, either you can either stay friends with her, but we're not going to be together, or blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, well, I'm not. I was like, to me at that point,
that's a tough situation to be
in. It wasn't.
No one wants to be in that.
The thing is, it wasn't tough to me, because like I get why it will be tough, but to me, I've always valued friendship over really anything else.
Yeah.
Like, and so I was like, okay, well, whatever you want to do is cool, but I'm not cutting people off because you have a problem with them when you have no reason to.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, it would be one thing if they had issues with you. You know what she did? Let me tell you what she did. She went through my phone on my Snapchat and texted the girl and was calling her like out her name and stuff like that. And then
that's when you got to run from that.
Yeah, I know, right? And so she's calling her out her name and arguing with her. She's trying to make it seem like it's me. Like she's trying to make her seem like it's me sending her messages. And obviously my friend, she knows, she was like, I know this isn't Cleon. I already know that. And so when it was brought to me, I'm talking to my girl at the time. I'm like, what is wrong with you? And then she was like, obviously my friend had some choice words for her in retaliation to this. Cause I'm like, why wouldn't she? And she was like, are you going to let her talk to me like that?
Oh yeah.
And I was like, what? I said, you initiated this interaction, and now you're asking.
You can't control how someone talks to other people,
right? And I'm like, and you're asking me to defend you in this situation that you went out of your way to start. You went through my phone to text somebody off of my account to start problems with them, and then now you want me to defend you from what they said. Literally. I'm like, you're out of your mind. Get it.
And women can be out of their mind just like guys can, just like the story from earlier. You know what I'm saying? So, but to wrap things up, man. Do your research on these people before you let them that close into your space, because at the end of the day, not everybody has your best interests in mind like you do. So especially as a woman, you got to be very diligent with protecting yourself and your space. So do recommend that you have a gun, keep it in the house. So if one of them situations ever happen like that, you can definitely protect yourself and be safe. So another question before we get off here and do our final thoughts, but let me show that on the stream. So as a man who's been married, all right, early on. Okay, so as a man who's been married for 10 years, having friends of the opposite sex has been a no-go. We agreed very early on, has kept a lot of drama out of our lives. Yeah, some people, that's a boundary, that's a talk. If it works, it works.
Yeah.
It depends on what do you need one for? You know what I'm saying? So it depends on your profession as well.
Mm-hmm. And that's why I asked about the timeline of it, because I'm like, to me, if I had a friend for 10 years and then I met you and we started dating, I'm like, you know what I'm saying?
Friend. I mean, even if it's been for 2-3 years, you know what I'm saying?
You know what I'm saying? But even if I get it, I get the uncomfortability if we're together and then I meet them after I've met you and now I have this person who wants to be. I understand why you would feel that way, but I'm like, for anybody else, if I was going to sleep with him, I would have done it by now.
Right. And,
you know what I'm saying?
And to give a little bit more feedback on this question too, Daryl, when you guys got married, you were also very young. So that's a very common thing for very young people to decide to do. You know what I'm saying? Like if I was very young and if let's say if I was still with my high school sweetheart and she didn't want me at that point in time, didn't want me talking to no girls, I would have absolutely not talked to any girl, I mean, even recently, like the one a few years ago, I mean, she didn't really want me to, but she was so like, if she's seen it, she would like, who's this? So I would intentionally never talk to any other girl. Like, you go talk to them. I'm not even working here.
To this day, I don't even like. I barely like pictures on Instagram because
that's another thing.
To this day, I barely do that because of that.
That's another thing when it comes to respect.
Yeah.
So that is one thing that isn't controlling you. You do have to change that. As a guy, None of us are perfect, especially as male, the male species. Like nobody's perfect. Try and get closer to God, and that'll take you further away from all those bikini and booty and all that extracurricular stuff.
I just
that
meant
you're
regular
liking.
pictures, not those kind of pictures.
Oh, well,
I just meant regular ones.
We'll talk about those ones too.
Yeah, I'm just talking
we
about
talk about the
regular
one. We talk about the ones that the girls actually care about.
Yeah.
Why are you liking that girl? Her booty's out.
Yeah,
she had a nice bathing suit.
Like I like the color. I've actually been to the beach that she was at, and I'm a fan of the beach.
The closer
get
it. That too, yeah, right. Whatever excuse you got in the book, but the closer you get to God, the easier it is to get away from liking that artificial stuff. The stuff that the human body wants isn't the same stuff that your spirit wants. So once you start to understand that and you start to dive into and learn more about Jesus and improve that relationship with him, you will start to find yourself getting away from those things that your physical body thinks you want. So I don't drink anymore. I don't even need to have sex anymore. Just literally. And you would have talked to me 3 years ago. You'd be like, yeah, that will never happen to this guy. And now look at us.
Now look at us.
Here we are.
But yeah, so just a few kind of final things on this, ladies, especially for men who are controlling. It's okay to like a man that takes control, but it's not okay to be with a man who is controlling and recognizes.
Ooh, that's bars right there.
You like that one?
Yeah, no, you got to say that again. That's bars. Somebody write that down. Write that down.
Yes, ladies, remember, it is okay to like a man who takes control, but it's not okay to like a man who is controlling. Understand what the difference is. One is for your well-being, one isn't.
Exactly, 100%. That's the biggest difference. One is for your well-being.
There we go. Ayana Van Zant, she had a quote: "Nobody who tries to control and dominate you is interested in your well-being." So understand, if somebody's trying to make decisions for you, is this something that genuinely helps me? Is this something that is keeping me safe? Is this something that is going to create a better space for us? Or is this their ego tripping right now? And that when you have that conversation with yourself, you'll be able to make a determination about where you need to go from there. And if you need to run, I always recommend running and getting out there as soon as possible, because the longer you stay in these things, you end up doing stupid stuff like having kids with a controlling person and then staying at home. And then suddenly it's a lot harder to leave after that. So leave early when it's needed and get out.
100%. So yeah, definitely agree with you on that. That was our deal of the day. We added it to the end on purpose.
On purpose.
But yeah, and I know we say that, guys are the only ones that can be controlling. Women can be controlling.
Oh, no. Girl, absolutely. Hold on. They absolutely can. Absolutely.
Women can be controlling too. So once you see the tendencies of these things, you have to understand, like, especially this red flag in particular, there is nothing good that comes out of it. Just like you said on that quote earlier, if somebody is controlling, they do not care about your well-being at all.
This is one of the most dangerous ones.
It definitely can be. And when I was hearing the situation that I had shared with you guys, like, the cops were like, literally, you're very lucky to even be alive, because if this could have went on any longer and then you started to be forceful back, it could have ended with you dying.
Exactly.
As a little girl. And there's multiple situations. If you guys just do research, there's a lot of stories on Netflix. There's multiple situations of guys being controlling where it can lead into the female's death. So it's very important that you protect your space and protect yourself, so that way you are not another statistic out of a guy who went crazy for being too controlling.
Yeah.
That's all that I got to say. Protect yourself. This is a non-negotiable red flag. This isn't one that you can be like, yeah, we can work on fixing it. No, there's plenty of fish in the sea. I promise you that. Get up out of there once you see these situations. And fellas, work on yourself. If you find yourself being this controlling guy,
stop being a loser.
Stop being a weirdo. Stop being a weirdo.
Just real simple. And just real quick for those gentlemen who do have control issues, it's one of those things like we always talk about, find it within yourself. Maybe you had an issue where you were never able to control anything as a kid. Maybe you never got to make your own decisions, and this makes you feel good, makes you feel like more of a man.
Yeah.
I promise you.
Or maybe your high school sweetheart left you for your best friend. You know what I'm saying?
Because he was more manly than you or something. So you just start being mean to women. I don't know what's up with it.
A situation you couldn't control. Now you try and control everything. So
right.
Figure out what those situations are and sit with them and heal. And go to therapy.
If
you are like a little too controlling, and multiple people tell you that, go to therapy, talk about it, get some help, because nobody likes that. You're just gonna keep pushing.
You might get smacked out here, man.
You're gonna get smacked, shot, something. You know, the girls you like are gonna keep getting pushed away from you. So that's all we got. If you guys find value, entertainment, whatever it may be, all the 3-4 things that Cleon says, like, comment, and share. Thank you for following our pages at Real Deal Convos on TikTok and Instagram
and Facebook.
This is my actual Facebook account under Brandon Haley. Thanks for hanging out with us on the lives. Thank you for being a part of this journey as we continue to grow day by day. God bless you. And yes, sir, Daryl. We'll see you guys next week. Thank you so much.